зоркие, очи страстные, очи жгучие и прекрасные. Как люблю я вас, какую я вас, знак любви для вас, я в медовый час. Оглядаю вид, любителей, вижу траур вас по душе моей, вижу пламя вас, я победную, зажжем на нем сердце пятное.
Does anybody know the name of that song? Oh, you guys speak Russian. That's very impressive. In English, it would be Dark Eyes. And Miss Margaret, what is it in French?
In French, it's Noir.
Yeah. So they do it all those different ways, but that was the Gypsy anthem, national anthem, famous Russian poetry. And it was pretty much the only non-jazz song that Django liked to play once he became a jazz musician. And now we're going to play for you a song we haven't played in a long, long time. I hope it'll work out really nice. It's going to be Avalon. So, to refresh those of you who weren't here last time's memory, Django was born in 1910. He was a gypsy. He was born in Belgium, lived most of his life in France. Actually, his mom took him to Italy when World War I broke out because they were always trying to get out of the way of fighting with that. They lived in what they called the zone, which was the area right outside of town where they could park their caravan trailers and everything and camp out and do their thing. And the biggest story about him was that when he was 17, he was in a terrible fire in the caravan, and these two fingers of his left hand were burnt so bad that he was crippled. And he worked out a way to play with only two fingers and the stubs of his other fingers for chords. And you know, the thing I didn't mention last time was he had probably the most amazing right hand picking hand of any guitarist you'll ever hear. It was just so strong and clear and perfect that I think that made up for a lot of the lack of this hand. Okay? One of the songs that with the Hot Club of France that they really like to do, it's very well known nowadays. All the gypsy bands play it. It's called "I'll See You in My Dreams."
I'll see you in my dreams, hold you in my dreams. Someone took you out of my arms. Still, I feel the thrill of your charms, lips that once were mine, tender eyes that shine. They will light my way tonight. I'll see you in my dreams.
Hi, everybody. So, we're all passing it around today. If you guys feel like telling us a story about Django, feel free. I've had the pleasure of working with some gypsy jazz bands in California and throughout the United States. And something that Dave Ruffner over here was my high school band director. Some of you may know that. And Dave always, we always talked about, you know, the concept of music and jazz, and he told me that he played by ear. I mean, of course, this man can read many clefs. But we talked about being jazz musicians and playing by ear, and one thing that we should tell you is that the gypsies, Romany gypsies, all the persuasions of gypsies, it's an oral art form, just like American jazz. They don't necessarily sit down. You probably saw me looking at a piece of music a few minutes ago. They don't really do that. Basically, you have the elder statesmen of the music that show the kids, and they probably say, well, make this. And by make this, they play a crazy, contrived, you know, lick, or a riff, or a part. And then the little ones sit there, and they try to play, and they say, okay, do it again. And they do it, and get closer. Do it again, and then finally they get it. And that's a huge thing in American jazz, too. Louis Armstrong talked about musicians teaching based on ear. Here in the States, we have amazing colleges that teach you how to be a virtuoso jazz musician through reading music, theory classes, composition classes, juries, recitals, thousands and thousands of dollars. And the gypsies sit around in encampments, and they say, make this, make that. And the kids, I mean, you can go on YouTube and find, there's a guitarist that Rick and I both really love named Borelli Legrand. And Borelli, as a child, there's a video of him playing in Paris, and he sits down and he plays the guitar and he shreds. I'm using modern day vernacular here, shreds. And you probably all know what shred means. He just lights the guitar up and plays this virtuosic solo. And then he gets off the guitar and walks over, and he's a child at this point, and he takes the bass from the, you know, bass player who's probably three decades older than he is. And he plays a bass solo, and then he gets the violin and plays a violin solo. It doesn't matter what the instrument is. Everybody's sitting around playing music together in a way where it's an oral art form. It's like storytelling. And it's really beautiful. And I've actually had the pleasure of playing with a couple of I feel weird saying real gypsies, but that's what they are. And one guy told me, play something beautiful on the bass. So I played Petit Fleur, Petit Fleur, which is the Sidney Bechet song. And I played it with a bow, played it arco, and then he said, you think that's beautiful? I said, yeah, I do. And then he gets the bass, he's like, this is beautiful. All open strings, no song, basically saying the instrument itself is beautiful. So if you listen to Django Reinhardt, you can hear that this man started from being a virtuoso child. And the understanding, I guess what I'm trying to say here, I'm getting a little long-winded. The understanding is, from the time an instrument is put in their hands as children, they understand that the instrument itself is beautiful, and to treat it like that. And that's something that's very important, because a lot of my friends went to great colleges and learned a lot of great things. And then a lot of my friends didn't. Me and some of my best friends decided not to. And we definitely sat around and said, hey, make this, play that, play that. So there's a lot to be said about the Gypsies and their ears and their amazing ability to create this beautiful music through, I guess we can say, storytelling. I don't have a segue right now, but all I can say is that there's a huge connection between early New Orleans jazz and the African Americans who descended from slaves and really terrible conditions, and the Gypsies, who were basically, in a lot of European understanding, were treated lower than dogs, treated lower than stray animals, just completely, downtrodden, down on their luck people. But the wonderful thing about that is we know, in America we have the blues, and the Gypsies, they have the what they call jazz manouche, which is gypsy jazz, influenced by Americans, but also put together with the music, French music, and all this other stuff. Thank you for listening to me rant on and on. But I will say this: Rick Canfield, from the time I joined this band, has had a love for this music, even so much where he has built the guitars. And the Gypsies that I've talked to, I say, hey, there's a guy in Fresno that builds Selmer-style guitars. And they immediately kind of perk up, because every Gypsy guitar player wants to have the best guitar. And Rick makes great guitars, and he's put this thing together with Dave. And round of applause for both of them, please. Thank you.
If I dropped out of school and not gone to college, I might be able to play the guitar.
I wasn't saying that.
Now we're going to play a song. We're going to take a risk here on this song, because this is a song that Django wrote. It was called Djangology. 1, 2, 3, go. I didn't grow up playing in a gypsy camp, and I went to school, and I'm a drummer, and I went to college and music school, and I teach music and all that, and I started playing the guitar and getting used to it, and I realized that when I think about what I'm doing, and I try to recreate exactly what somebody else did and all that kind of stuff, I get nervous, and I can't play, I'm terrible, and it's horrible, and when I just forget about it and just start playing, that's when something actually might come out of it.
May I chime in? I promise I won't take that long.
I promise. I feel like Ron Jones right now. So I heard from one of the Gypsies that I played with, they refer to taking a solo as dreaming a solo. And that's like kind of esoteric and weird and crazy for a lot of people to understand. But when you think about it, I mean, it is kind of like that. You're talking about, playing something that's rehearsed and something you know. And it's really difficult for anybody that is not a gypsy. They call us Americans, anybody that's not a gypsy is known as a gajo. G-A-D-J-O, gajo. And being from California, we're all free-range gajos. I stole that joke from Paul Bailey. But they talk about dreaming the solo. So yeah, Rick, you're absolutely on point with that. You kind of let go and dream and have a good time. I'm going to dream right now.
All right. We did this song yesterday and we really had fun, so we're going to try it again. And it's called Eyes a Muggin', featuring Miss Karen Martin. We're gonna vamp and you're gonna sing, right?
Yeah, I can do that.
B flat.
Dreaming.
Go to sleep.
Nobody knows just how it started. Somebody blew it through a home. Somebody played it on a fiddle. Somebody sang it and a song was born. Now it's the craze, the new sensation. It's the song the band's gonna swing. It's the phrase that rocks the nation. Don't try to stop me 'cause I'm going to sing. Eyes a muggin' boo. Eyes a muggin' boo. Eyes a muggin' boo. Eyes a muggin' boo. We's a muggin' boo. Eyes a muggin' boo. Hoodie hood, hoodie head, hitty hey. Eyes a muggin' boo. We's a muggin' bang. Eyes a muggin' boo. Yeah, Maddie's bugging. You know Sammy's dreaming. You know everybody's mugging now 'cause the mug with a mugging band.
Okay, now we're going to change it up a little bit and play something that is a more modern gypsy style because Django played swingy tunes, hot doggy tunes, and maybe an occasional bolero or something like that. But nowadays, all the gypsy players like to play some sort of Latin style rhythms a little bit. And we have a beautiful song called Corcovado, which is a Brazilian tune.
No one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf.
And misbehaving, saving my love for you. I know for certain the one that I love.
I'm through with flirting, it's just you I'm thinking of.
Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you. Like Jack Horner in the corner, don't go nowhere, one kiss.
Your kisses are worth waiting for. Believe me,
I don't stay out late, don't care to go.
I'm home about 8, just me and my radio.
I'm misbehaving, saving one more song. And so we're going to play his most famous song. And he recorded it at least 17 or 18 times. He wrote it. It's beautiful. It's called Nuage, which means clouds. And it will feature Dave's harmonica.
And Karen, and we want to thank Helen for putting this thing together. It was an experiment on her part, seeing how it would work and if you'd like it and stuff. If you do like it, not necessarily for us, but put something in the suggestion box or something, and maybe she will do some more of these so you have these a little more casual and educational stuff.
Sur lequel son choix s'enfuit déjà dans le glace qu'on songe le brise de sa maison sous les jours qui s'allongent s'estompe dans l'horizon. Ce sont toi en passant du soleil, en triste adieu, et tout ce que j'aimais, lorsque le train arrive, dans un flot de fumée. C'est pas